Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Well, there, poddies, I have just come back from a lovely weekend at the spa. Sometimes you just need to spend time with the girls and have a really relaxing weekend. I am anticipating that I will come over, or I will come back with some kind of Prosecco hangover. But hopefully it will have all been cured because I will have had like a facial and all that kind of good stuff as well. Today I'm actually really excited. I am getting up today. I'm going to be heading off to do a VIP half day with one of my awesome clients, Lisa Johnson. So that's very, very exciting. I'm heading into the city, you know, as I may even be able to, well, it's one of those weird things actually, isn't it? I was going to say, I may even be able to listen to my own podcast and listen to me talking about this as I'm fighting the commuters. But then I realized that nobody listens to their own podcast because it would be weird. And also because, you know, we all have that weird thing about our voices. I sound like Minnie Mouse on crack and I can't bear listening to it back. So I probably won't listen to my own podcast, but I will listen to a podcast and potentially read my new book on Mary Boleyn by Alison Weir. I'm obsessed with historical literature and fiction, and there's the first ever full biography of Mary Boleyn, and of course I'm going to read that. So that's how my day is going to go. Check it out on Instagram. You'll be able to see me having a little bit of a chat with Lisa. She's actually one of the very, very few people that I have worked with one-to-one this year, and it's such a pleasure to be working with her. She is such an action taker, and it's been really, really fun to watch her get some incredible results this year, really up-level her business, and speak on some phenomenal stages with her as well. But what I wanted to come in and share today was how people have been successful in 2019. And this has kind of come about because the questions I've had this year have been that the online space is changing. How do we make it work for us? Are the things that were relevant last year still going to be relevant? Are the strategies that worked last year still going to be able to work for us in 2020 and beyond? And I wanted to do a little bit of a roundup of 4 people who I've been fortunate enough to work with this year who've been super successful in their businesses in very different ways, in very different timeframes, so that you could learn from some of the breakthroughs that they've had, so that you can see some of the, or take inspiration from some of the amazing journeys that they've had, but also so that you can hear that not every business is the same, not every strategy is the same. So you can start to think about what you want your business to look like in 2020 and, you know, put together a strategy that genuinely works for you, feels good for you, that you don't have to worry about. So let's dig in. I'm going to do 4 little mini case studies, which is exciting, isn't it? It's a bit different from Monday. And hopefully from each of them, you will decide, yes, I really like that strategy and I'm going to go do it. And no, I don't like that and I'm not going to implement it at all. That's the hope. So we'll start with one of my favorite people on the planet, Julie Dennis. Julie is incredible. She is an amazing menopause at work trainer. She now specializes in helping organizations really transform the culture in their workplace environment by setting in place new menopause policies for companies, by doing trainings on communication around the menopause, and really making menopause mainstream within big organizations, smaller organizations, and even charitable and not-for-profit organizations. Now, Julie is a hero, and technically her journey started in 2018. And she talked about this on stage at my Converting Corporates event recently. And she was really honest about her experience, both working with me and her journey and how long it took. And it was so interesting and genuinely inspirational. It's always lovely for me to be able to hear the other side of it and hear what people were really thinking as they were going through the process. And also the feedback from people in the room was that her session was genuinely so inspirational and made them feel like they could do whatever they wanted. They could go away and take action right now. So hopefully, if you're considering selling to corporates this year, then this snippet about the lovely Julie will help you get motivated and move forward for 2020. So Julie's journey started in 2018. Well, actually technically started in December 2017 when she approached me and said that her current business model wasn't working for her. Back then, Julie was the proud owner, or I don't know how she'd feel about that title now, but she had explored the Facebook group world, and she was working with women who were going through the menopause and trying to actually help them go through the menopause in an easier way. And she approached me in December 2017, literally just before Christmas, and said, I'm not really happy with my current business. It's not doing what I want it to do. And it's not allowing me to have the business and the lifestyle that I want to have. Could we talk about how I can turn it around or make it look different for me? And so we had a quick chat on the phone. I wish it had been over eggnog, but sadly not. Even though it was the festive spirit, I still do not drink on calls. That is the one thing I will not do. There are many things I won't do, but okay, drinking on a call is one of them. But we had this chat and we agreed to start working together in January 2018. And Julie booked a 6-week intensive with me. And that doesn't mean that I went and sat in her house for 6 weeks. We met up once a week on a call, and Julie took some serious action. In the first week that we met up, we looked at Julie's business as it currently was and looked at the lead generation, looked at the money, looked at everything that was going on with the business, and decided that in its current form, it didn't work. And what we actually did was map out a brand new business, which was for Julie to go and, instead of selling to individuals, sell to corporate organizations. Now, being told in your first coaching session with somebody, shut down your Facebook group, get rid of all of your existing leads and go and focus on something that you've never done before, can be really, really challenging to hear. But Julie took it like an absolute trooper. She had come from the corporate world previously. She had, been in the world of menopause and fitness for a few years. And so she was happy, if feeling a little bit, concerned that we were doing quite so much quite so quickly. So off she went. She shut down her Facebook group in week 1, and she started going out and doing business development with corporate organizations, selling this menopause at work piece. In week 2, we worked together to put out and create a piece of content that would help Julie generate corporate leads. And she did that really successfully. She leveraged that piece of content to do more business development with companies. And she also leveraged that piece of content to give her authoritative and credible posts to put on LinkedIn and to talk to people about on calls. Within 6 weeks, she had booked her first corporate client, which I thought was amazing. That's a really quick turnaround. And we're now in 2019. Julie has been on not only my stage at converting corporates, but she was also at the House of Lords fairly recently, talking about and chairing and facilitating a panel discussion with an actual baroness on the panel. How cool is that? An actual baroness on the panel, chairing a discussion around menopause and menopause at work. She has been fully booked all year. She's been on holiday more times than I have, and I'm very, very jealous of that. And I tell her regularly. And she has been a phenomenal member of my mastermind this year. And the beauty of what Julie's done, she worked so hard in 2018, really focusing on outbound lead generation, meaning that she was doing business development. She was working to be the credible partner in her industry. She was really focusing on developing and building relationships with new people that she hadn't met before. This year, she's been harvesting what she sowed. She hasn't actually done any outbound marketing since March, something I rib her about endlessly, but that I'm incredibly proud of her for. And she's been able to create a business where she's actually fully booked out until mid Q1 next year. And that's going up every single day because more organizations want to talk to her about what she's doing they're hiring her because she's the expert and because they really, really like the results that she's able to help them get. It's phenomenal. And over this year, you know, she's worked with some big brands. She has had to turn work away, and actually those people that she's had to turn away have ended up saying to her, no, it's fine, we'll just have you whenever you're ready, and have waited for her. And I just think that's a sign of a really genuinely incredible business. And so you might be thinking, well, that's right for Julie, you know, it's easy for her, menopause is this big thing, but it wasn't when she started out. You know, it really wasn't. It wasn't a hot button topic like it is now. And it's actually due to people like Julie who've really made menopause mainstream, who've been talking about it, who've been stressing the importance of knowing how to communicate about it and how to change some of the stigmas that lie in that particular issue, that have made this such a big focus for this year. And it's actually been in the press a lot. Certain celebrities have featured, you know, their stories around menopause and things like that. That wouldn't have happened, I don't believe, if people like Julie hadn't stood up and said, yes, there is very clearly a problem. Let's go out and create a solution and actually start working on this. Because it's when we start working on things, it's when companies start working on things, when we as business owners start working on things, that actually issues start to change, issues start to be faced. So she's been absolutely incredible. And the biggest takeaway that you can have from Julie, I believe, is that building relationships will get you paid. And that's the thing that I've seen from her again and again. It doesn't matter if you don't want to work with corporates, like, that's all good. I mean, why wouldn't you? But that's a story for another day. But this idea of building relationships and really making sure that you are the credible partner that somebody wants to work with is huge. It's what wins you the business. And that's been proven by Julie time and time again this year. So make sure that you're thinking about that. How are you building relationships? And are you building genuine relationships? Or are you just building things that you think, oh, at some point I'll be able to use this for X, Y, and Z? Or are you building relationships where it's genuinely about you being the credible and consultative sales partner that can actually help them solve a problem? So that's the lovely Julie. Secondly, we have Nadine. Now, Nadine is an absolute powerhouse, and she's actually been lovely enough to say that she will record an episode where she's going to talk in a bit more detail about her successes this year. She is a phenomenal woman, a leadership expert, and she is a managing difficult conversations guru. And I say that with all humble pie and respect, because she is absolutely incredible at what she does. Now, Nadine has been in my membership, or was in my membership when it existed, and asked questions. And what I love about Nadine is that she is never afraid to ask questions. She's always super prepared. And she is so incredibly coachable. Some people really don't like being coached. Some people take the coaching process as being quite defensive, you know, so they might say, oh, I've done this, and their coach might question it, and, you know, they get defensive instead of listening to how things maybe could have been resolved differently or done differently. Nadine isn't like that. She's openly coachable. She's incredible at what she does. And earlier this year, I was honored to have her join Evolve. And I think she joined in March. It was absolutely brilliant. It was a really, really cool thing for me to have her in the program, because what she does is really interesting. And Nadine just knuckled down. What I love about Nadine is that when she says she's going to take action, she just does. So what I was very surprised and also thought was brilliant was that she would come to our coaching sessions and she'd have these great questions from things that she was doing and asking about her strategy and, you know, talking about the experiences that she'd had. And she'd come completely prepared. And then she would go away and she would transcribe the coaching session that she'd had with me. She would create the bullet points for her action points that she needed to do. And then she would just go away and take action on those things. Now, Nadine also is focusing now on selling to corporates. She occasionally takes on individual coaching clients who are fortunate enough to work with her around that leadership development and conversations piece. But she's selling to large corporate organizations now. And within the first 6 weeks, she had generated about £15,000 in contracts, which was phenomenal, you know. But she'd said coming into Evolve, her goals were big. She wanted to hit them and she was going to make that happen. And over the last 6 months, it's been genuinely incredible to watch her. She has been working with organizations all over the world, in places like Dubai, in the Middle East, in France, in the UK. She is holding these incredible workshops for individuals who externally of their organizations want to learn how to manage difficult conversations around change and transformation and restructure. And she has been incredible at implementing really solid boundaries within her business. She has worked on her pricing. She has, you know, completely owned her zone of genius. And she's even brought out these really cool Nadine Powrie notebooks this year that her lucky corporate leaders are getting to use to be better leaders within their industry and give themselves reflective feedback and reflective time in their day so that they can perform better in organizations. So she's really innovating and leading the way, just like Julie innovated and led the way in the kind of menopause in the workplace arena. Nadine's doing this in leadership and development, which is a saturated market. And in October, she celebrated her first 6-figure month, which I think is a phenomenal achievement. I'm incredibly proud of her. I think it's absolutely amazing. And again, I was fortunate enough to get her on stage at the Converting Corporates event and give her a bottle of wine to say congrats. But if you're looking for, you know, tips and strategies, sometimes it's not about knowing all of the new things. Sometimes it's about actually actioning what people are telling you to do. You know, the big takeaway for me from Nadine is that being coachable, genuinely coachable, and genuinely action taking as a human requires work. You know, I've never met anybody who has transcribed all of our coaching sessions together. And you know what? Equally, there are clients who arguably had easier markets to work in who were not as successful as quickly as Nadine, perhaps because they didn't do things like that, right? Doesn't mean they didn't get successful, but she puts in every ounce of work that she needs to get the best return on investment. And that's a very, very smart decision to make. It's a very, very smart way to treat your business. So think about the investments you've made this year. Have you actually made the most of them? You know, if you've joined a program, did you actually show up, log in, ask questions, get involved? Or did you just kind of drop out, forget about it, not participate? Yeah. Think about how you've shown up for your business, for your coaching. And this doesn't mean if you hired a terrible coach this year that it's all your fault. It's not at all. But, you know, think about when we describe ourselves often as action takers, you know, we can go, yeah, I take action because, you know, some of the time, arguably we do. But are we really focused on taking the best action? Are we really being productive? Are we actually doing the things that we say we're going to do when we say that we're going to do them? Because that's my huge takeaway from Nadine and her amazing success this year, is that she's fully earned every single bit of it, just like Julie, just like the other people I'm going to be talking about today. She's earned that because she put the work in. She genuinely took the action. And when she said, I want these big results, she was going to make them happen no matter what. Yeah, and that meant transcribing the calls. It meant doing the action points. It meant letting go of some stuff that wasn't working and putting in place new strategies and things that would. And every single time she's risen to the challenge. So be more Nadine, you know, do the work. Then I want to talk about Mark Simpson. You might have seen him. He's on Instagram. He does these really cool daily vlogs. I don't know how he finds time to do it with 3 small children and a lovely wife. And they've been traveling, like living the nomad lifestyle all year, which I'm so impressed by. They did like Thailand earlier in the year. I'm saying Thailand, but I'm pretty sure it was actually Bali. And yes, he was on coaching calls with me. And I'm just like, it looks amazing and it's sunny. I don't care where it is. And they are currently living in Spain for the next few months. And they have 3 young children. They are just a wonderful, wonderful family. And Mark this year has been in my mastermind. He's also an epic poddy. He listens to the Smart Leader Sell podcast. He talks about it on Instagram and shares it around regularly, which I always appreciate it. But he's had a phenomenal year. And again, you know, Mark is one of these people who is very similar to Julie and Nadine, that he's an action taker, but also in that he is relentlessly positive. And I love that. Relentlessly positive can feel like an oxymoron, can't it? Because it's like, oh well, you know, relentlessly is a bit of an aggressive phrase or aggressive word sometimes. But Mark is one of those people who is a joy to work with, whether he is working with you as a client or whether you are working with him as one of his clients, because he's got this naturally optimistic outlook on life. And actually, it makes everything so much easier, even when things aren't necessarily going as expected. He's one of those people that looks for the bright colors in the sky. And I really, really admire that, because I'm, as a person, relatively cynical about life in general and just other things. And so it's actually one of the things that I've really picked up on this year, that I think it is a really good quality to have in business. It makes you more resilient and it makes you more productive. He's also one of these crazy cats that can do all of his work between like 5 in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning. just listen to that. 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning and all of his work's done. How impressive is that? And it's always interesting to me, because again, this is something I hear from people. They're like, oh, I'm dedicated, I really want it, I'll do whatever it takes. But if you say to the majority of people, well, get up at 5 a.m. and do your work in 4 hours so that you can spend the rest of the day with your kids and with your family and doing that stuff, most people are like, no, thank you. You know, so again, the kind of running theme here is that to be successful in business, it's not necessarily about doing what everybody else has always done to get the same results. Sometimes you have to look at, you know, what's best for you and do the right things. And actually, when you say I'm dedicated, or when you say I'm an action taker, actually do those things. You know, I could never ever, like in a million years, get up at 5 a.m. and do all my work by 9, because I'm not a morning person. Like, I pre-coffee, I'm just basically a non-functioning kind of sloth. But Mark is incredibly dedicated to his business, to his family, and he really stands this work-life balance piece, which I really, really admire. Having 3 small children, I don't think is easy, you know, and I don't have any children, but I have a dog, and I figure that's hard enough. Having 3 young, active children, taking them to travel the world and experience amazing things, like, that is not easy, and you don't want to miss out on time. So I'm always incredibly impressed with his work ethic. But this year, he's done some amazing things. And one of the really, really cool things that Mark has done recently is that he's completely innovated his industry and created this awesome product for hospitality owners. So for those of you who don't know what Mark does, Mark helps hospitality owners like Airbnb, or B&B owners, you know, small hotels, even some like serviced accommodation and things like that. He helps them get more direct bookings. Okay, so he's got different strands to his business. He creates websites, or his team creates websites for hospitality owners that are set up with the functionalities, help them get more direct bookings. He just completed this awesome joint venture project on helping hospitality owners to understand SEO and be better at using SEO to build their businesses and show up on Google. But the coolest thing, in my opinion, that Mark did this year, alongside everything else that he's got going, was he innovated his industry using an existing tool. So Google is out there. Google is creating all this new stuff all of the time. And Mark realized that one of the things that he could create on Google would be completely innovative in his industry. Nobody else is doing it, but it would really help hospitality owners get more direct bookings and save them paying the huge commission fees for sites like Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and all that kind of stuff. And he created the Book Direct Map. Now, the Book Direct Map is designed, so from my limited knowledge, okay, I'm not a techie by any means, but from somebody who's very interested in it and thinks it's awesome, the Book Direct Map is basically this Google resource that hospitality owners can go and pop their B&B on, or their hotel on, or whatever, and pay a small amount to Mark, and every month it stays updated, and it makes them rank higher in Google, and it means that people can find their accommodation easier, and that most importantly, they can book their accommodation directly, so they save paying those commission fees. And he's created this amazing book direct map. It's giving him recurring revenue. It's giving his audience this huge transformation, because it's something they can use that will help them make more money and help them stay more relevant in the eyes of their customers. And it's utilizing a tool that already existed, right? Google already existed. This was there, but Mark recognized that there was a gap that wasn't being filled for his industry, and he went and he did something about it. Now, there are a couple of big takeaways from Mark's success this year, and he has been supremely successful. He's heading for his stretch goal target in his business, which is awesome. He is helpful to other business owners. He regularly shows up for himself. The first big takeaway from Mark is that excellence is a habit. Yeah. Both in what you do as a technician in your business. So, the thing that you teach, you can be excellent at, and you should want to master that skill and excel at that. But also as a business owner, Mark is somebody who shows up for his business every single day and excels. He puts things into action. He takes action. He is positive, and he works to make the lives of his clients much easier. And he is somebody who genuinely puts 100% effort into every single project that he undertakes. And that's an amazing thing. So if you're looking and thinking, well, how can I be the best in my industry? Well, be the best. Show up for your business, master your skill, excel in your area, do those things, and you will quickly become known as that person. The other thing that you can take away from Mark is innovation is good. It's not about looking for something completely different just for novelty's sake, or just because it is different, or because you think it might be blue ocean so it'll be a bit easier to sell. It's about looking at your market and thinking, are there trends, or are there things that are happening that realistically could be solved easily, that could be changed, and innovating for the sake of convenience and ease and transformation for your clients, rather than innovating just for, glory. So that's what I love about Mark. And again, you can find all of these people I'm talking about. You can find the links to their websites in the show notes. Please go and check them out. They are amazing people. If you're interested in their services, I obviously thoroughly recommend that you speak to them, because they are brilliant. But finally, we have one of my other amazing clients, Lisa Johnson. I talked about Lisa earlier in the episode in the intro, because I'm off to do a VIP day with her. As you're listening to this, she will be stuck in a room with me, wishing that she was anywhere else. But Lisa's been an absolute pleasure to work with. I've actually had Lisa on the podcast. I've had most of these people on the podcast, actually. I had Lisa on the podcast after her VIP day in January this year. She did a VIP day with me early in January. And she had a very specific revenue goal that she wanted to hit this year. And she wanted to have some incredible launches. Since that VIP day, she's gone on to have 3 back-to-back 100+ K launches, so multiple 6-figure launches. She has spoken on stages with me, which is kind of cool for me, but also more important people like Ashley Amberjay, Denise Duffield-Thomas. She was a co-host of a key event called Fire Up in March this year, and she's been really working to develop both her own speaking career within the industry and also her revenue goals, and making sure that she's actually exceeding those each time, providing this amazing service to her audience. So if you haven't heard of Lisa, she is the passive income queen. She teaches passive income and semi-passive income and how to add those streams to your business. Over the last year, she's run a couple of courses, fabulous foundations to teach new business owners how to create a business in the first place. Passion for Passive, which is a course that launch just finished, I think about a month ago. I was getting confused, and I was like, a couple of weeks, no, definitely a month, I don't know where I'm going. By the time this airs, it will have been about a month to 6 weeks, I think. She's launched that, and both of those have had six-figure launches multiple times in 2018, 2019, sorry, not to mention all the other stuff that she's done in between. So what's the reason? Why has Elisa been so successful? And people look at Lisa because she's a very normal human being. It's one of the things that I actually love about working with Lisa, is that she's good fun. She does what she says she's going to do. She's very realistic. She's very driven. She's open, and she's very honest about her journey. And she's also very honest about finances. And I love that. You know, it's one of those things I always say on the podcast. I don't think we talk about money enough. And Lisa really does that well. She shares with her audience regularly, and she, you know, has really worked hard this year to be super transparent about what goes on inside her business, so that her clients can actually model for themselves and go out and have those epic successes, which I think is awesome. But what has made her successful? Because, you know, sometimes when we think and we have that inbuilt definition of success in our minds, we think about, you know, somebody different. And I was talking about this with a biz bestie of mine a few weeks ago. You know, when we were talking about the definition of success, perhaps we thought we'd be like younger or thinner or blonder or taller when we actually got successful. And that's not the case. And Lisa has this incredible story. You know, she's been through a few different careers in her time in the banking industry, the entertainment industry, the legal industry, and then set up this business. And she's a very normal human. Like, she's nice. I love going for a drink with her. She's got a lovely husband. She's got twin boys. She started her business with baby twins, which again, I think is huge. Because so often we tell ourselves, well, it's not possible for us because we have these other barriers. But her twins were, you know, almost a year old, I think, when she started her business. So she had not one but two children to look after and work around. And the growth has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think there are a couple of takeaways from working with Lisa this year that I would say would benefit anyone listening. One is ambition. I don't think we often recognize ambition as being a positive trait. People seem to think that ambitious people will step on others to get to where they want to be, and that they don't collaborate, and that they, you know, aren't community minded. And that's really not true. I'm incredibly ambitious, always have been. I'm also incredibly competitive and always have been. I do not like losing at Scrabble. And Lisa's very, very similar. She's incredibly ambitious. She sets high standards for herself. She sets high goals for herself, and she goes out to make those happen. But just like with me, you know, it doesn't make her a bad person, and it doesn't make her somebody that isn't collaborative. You know, this year she's spoken on a variety of stages and has promoted every single event. She is somebody who will always ask, is there anything that I can do for you? And I really, really admire the way that she is open and honest with her community. She's open and honest about her successes. She shares openly how she gets there. And I think those are lovely, lovely traits to have. And it would be really nice if we could start reframing ambition as being somebody who is driven to hit a goal, and who is excited about hitting a goal, and passionate and action taking enough to actually go out and do the thing, rather than assuming that people who are ambitious are just going to go out and, you know, screw everybody else over to make themselves look better. So that's the first thing. You know, be ambitious. Start looking at 2020 and thinking about what you actually want to achieve, and making sure that you are going to go and do those things. There's no point in sitting there and going, oh, I'm going to have another year where I manifest, you know, stuff. And it's not because I have any particular like hatred for manifestation. I get it, you know, I do. But the flip side to it, I imagine, is that it's also about action. You can't just keep writing the dream on bits of paper. You can't just keep saying, oh, well, next year's going to be the year that I make 100K, or next year's going to be the year I make 500K. Like, you've actually got to go out and make that happen. And that doesn't happen simply by repeating affirmations or journaling every day. That's not the only part of it. Yeah, I'm sure that, you know, they do help and they keep the goal current and all those good things. But the action is what is going to ultimately go out and make things happen. So be ambitious with your goals for next year and be committed to doing every action that's going to make them happen. Yeah. The second thing that I would take away from Lisa is get together with your metrics. One of the things that Lisa is very open about, and I really appreciate this in her, is that in our first VIP day together in January this year, we talked about metrics, and she was like, I'm not really sure that I track them correctly. And so we actually spent time on going through metrics, understanding how to track the ROI and doing all those things. And that set her in really, really good stead for this year, because one of the great things that we've been able to do with Lisa is look at how she's going to be able to have six-figure launches, plan them out, and then repeat that process. Some people can have a six-figure launch accidentally, but never know how to repeat it, never know how to scale it, and never know what they're doing. With the help of your metrics, you can create predictable and repeated income streams that are reliable, so that you're not just working off, I hope this is going to happen. You're working off numbers and data, and it makes your life a lot easier. Okay, so always know your metrics. And then finally, it's not about having a huge audience. You know, I want to wrap up with this piece. Is one of the things that I feel like I've seen a lot of this year is people talking about vanity metrics. Now, one of my good friends, Janet Murray, she has a great course called Build Your Audience online. And it's brilliant. It really is good. And I like what Janet teaches around creating a large and engaged audience. And I do agree. It gives you room to sell to more people. But a lot of people, they think they can't sell until they've grown an audience. And a lot of people are focusing on vanity metrics. They're on every platform. They're on Twitter, they're on LinkedIn, they're on Facebook, they're on everywhere. And they're looking for as many followers on as many platforms as possible. They never actually sell to them. They never actually show up fully on any of those platforms because they don't have the time, because they're so burnt out creating content for it all and doing it all that they forget to sell. And then the audience doesn't do the job that they built it to do anyway. With all of these people I've been talking about today, with Julie, with Nadine, with Mark, with Lisa, even myself, we don't have huge audiences. None of us. We build really good relationships. The audiences that we do have are engaged and loyal and want to buy because we show up as the credible and consultative partner who can provide a solution to their problems. So just think about that for next year. Audience growth should absolutely be one of your goals. You know, when I look at setting goals in my business or helping my clients, I always say you've got to look at 3 areas. The first one is always revenue. You've always got to have a revenue goal. If you don't have a revenue goal, you can never hit it. So you'll always end up feeling disappointed. Your second one should be around branding and visibility. What are you going to do to grow your audience? How are you going to get more visible this year? What are you going to do to get more publicity or credibility, brand awareness? And the third one is always about your own learning and development. The common theme with all of these people is that all of them identified they had a problem with their existing business, whether it was a big problem or, you know, something they just wanted to turn around or tweak. They invested in a solution that worked for them. They actioned the advice that they were given, genuinely took action on it, made things happen. They tweaked and made things more efficient and effective for them. And then they created these incredible and repeatable results. So if you are looking to do the same in 2020, if you want to have that business that you really, really want in 2020 and beyond, think about that process. Have you identified the problem that you're currently struggling with? Are you actually prepared and ready to invest in a solution to move you forward? Are you going to take genuine action on every piece of advice that you are given from the person who's providing the solution? And are you going to make things more efficient and effective and tweak them and not just do a one-off and leg it, you know, and never sell that product or service again? Are you going to create that repeatable, predictable income that you're looking for next year? Hopefully that episode has inspired you. Like I say, the links to all of those websites are in the show notes. You can check them out. They're all incredibly interesting and inspiring people. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please make sure that you go onto social media and share it, because it does help us get into the ears of other people who may not be hanging out with such cool poddies or listening to decent information on the internet. And if you do have a quick 5 minutes, it'd be awesome if you could pop a little review on iTunes as well. It helps us stay current, stay in the charts, and do all the stuff that you need to do to make sure that you're in people's earbuds. In other news, I will be taking on one more one-to-one client for 2020. If you want it to be you, if you are interested in working with me directly one-to-one in 2020, then you are more than welcome to head over and grab one of my free Supersize Your Sales sessions, and we can have a chat about your action plan for 2020 and what your business could look like. I'll see you on Friday's episode. We're talking all about sales strategy. It's going to be epic. So have an awesome week, and I will see you then.